posted by you/annoyed through. I, 28F, have been with my boyfriend, 29M, for 3 years, and we have been living together for 2. My boyfriend has always been very close to his family. They live not far away, and he has never lived anywhere but New York City, where he was born and raised. As a result, he has always had his parents nearby and spends time with them regularly. Initially, I didn't think anything was odd about how close he is to his parents and assumed it was normal. However, since we moved in together, there have been some red flags regarding his parents. For example, there is a coin-operated laundromat half a block away from our apartment, but he insists on packing his clothes and carrying them on a 30-minute subway ride, one way, to his parents' house to have them washed. I thought this was strange, but I figured it's his clothes, his time, and his subway fare. He also shares a bank account with his parents. They regularly scrutinize his finances and once scolded him for spending too much money on ordering pizza. I found this odd as well, but since we keep our finances separate, it didn't affect me, so I let it slide. On a camping trip with his family, a mosquito entered our tent, and I tried multiple times to slap it between my hands. Immediately, his mom and dad barged into our tent, yelling and demanding to know why I was slapping my boyfriend. I was utterly confused and told them that I was trying to slap a mosquito. In fact, the mosquito was still buzzing around the tent. My boyfriend backed me up, but his parents thought he was covering for me. Since then, they have disliked and mistrusted me. For example, when I got a promotion, they called my workplace to see if I was telling the truth about working there and my promotion. I found this utterly insane and embarrassing, as it involved my workplace, but my boyfriend stood up for me again. Therefore, I didn't think it was right to break up with him over his parents' insanity. Despite my boyfriend sticking up for me and telling the truth to his parents in both instances, they continued to mistrust me. After these ridiculous episodes, I started not wanting to attend many of their family events, which my boyfriend said he understood and never pressured me to attend. I make more money than my boyfriend, so I asked him if we could move to a better neighborhood. I offered to pay a larger portion of the rent to cover this, meaning he would continue paying the same amount he currently pays. He got extremely upset, feeling like he couldn't pull his weight, but I assured him that I didn't mind paying more so that we could live in a safer area. I chalked this up to how men are often shamed in the media if they're seen as not being good providers, and I assumed he was just feeling insecure about it. However, when he discussed this with his parents, they accused me of hiding a source of income. No, I have a regular old boring marketing job, and being involved in unsavory activities or lying about something and hiding things. I was utterly confused. My boyfriend doesn't believe any of their nonsense and stood up for me once again. However, things soon escalated. His parents are now demanding to see my bank statements to prove that everything is legitimate. My boyfriend knows I have nothing to hide, so he suggested that I show them the statements just to shut them up and stop the drama. However, I believe this is a huge violation of my privacy. Why should I have to justify myself to them when I've done nothing wrong, and what right do they have to the details of my finances? If I give in, what else will I be expected to do to satisfy their insanity? At the same time, it's not my boyfriend's fault that he was born into such a crazy family, and he has stood up for me every time. I don't want to break up with him over something he didn't do. Still, his parents are driving me up the wall and stressing me out. What should I do? First update 2 days later. I read all the replies and had a long talk with my boyfriend about boundaries. He listened, agreed with me, and decided to talk to his parents. I was hopeful and glad that he was going to do something about this, but things soon got much worse. He returned home a few hours later with his parents. Silly me, I assumed they were here to apologize or at the very least have an adult conversation about everything that has been going on. Instead, they accused me of trying to keep him away from them and isolate him in order to abuse and control him. I told them that I wasn't doing that and never said he shouldn't interact with them. All I wanted was for them to respect my boundaries and stop making unreasonable demands. They claimed that this is what all abusers do and that I was showing my true colors. The messed up part is that my boyfriend was visibly affected by all this, to the point where he started to agree with them. They kept insisting that I was acting guilty and that only guilty people have something to hide. They claimed that my refusal to show them my bank statements proved their suspicions were correct. I told them it was none of their business, and if my boyfriend trusts me, they have no right to interfere in my affairs. At that point, his dad got in my face and screamed at me, calling me a horrible person who abuses their son. They brought up a music festival I attended last year with mutual friends from college, accusing me of spending that weekend sleeping around instead of going to the festival. When I countered by pointing out that there was an entire album of photos on my Facebook, they shifted their accusation, claiming they now suspected I was dealing illicit substances. This was shocking to me because I have never touched anything like that in my life, and neither my boyfriend, his parents, nor anyone else has ever accused me of such a thing. I pointed out that their accusations kept changing the moment the first one was proven wrong, and I asked how I was supposed to prove a negative like that. Even if I gave them my bank statements, they could accuse me of having a different account or hiding cash, who knows what else. I told them it was clear that this wasn't going to stop and that they should just leave me alone with their insane theories. I guess this might be partly my fault for going to the festival without my boyfriend, but I had repeatedly asked him to go along, and he kept saying he doesn't like large crowds, which I've known about him from the start. I didn't think there was an issue since I was camping with girls, and my boyfriend also knew these people from college. My boyfriend then said that it could be a possibility that I was actually dealing illicit substances, and that my refusal and anger at his parents' requests were making him no longer trust me. He added that he was starting to think, where there is smoke, there is fire. What the actual hell? I told him that he had never once accused me of sleeping around or selling illicit substances before, and these insane accusations only started once his parents put the idea into his head. If he was uncomfortable with me going to the festival, he could have spoken up before I bought the ticket, before I actually left, or even in the years since then. But he didn't, and only started feeling uncomfortable once his parents planted these ideas into his head. I told them I didn't understand where these suspicions were coming from. I make a normal amount of money for someone in my position, I live below my means, and I don't make any extravagant purchases, so why exactly are they accusing me of hiding so much money? What money are they talking about? They then claimed I was deflecting to avoid answering their accusations, that I had manipulated my boyfriend into sticking up for me, and that the camping trip showed them how much I was abusing him. They insisted their poor son had been so abused that he would even deny I was slapping him. My boyfriend said that since this conflict doesn't seem to be getting resolved, and because they are his parents after all, he can't be with someone who refuses to get along with them, so we are breaking up. Seriously, those were his exact words. Apparently, I'm the bad one in all of this, and his delusional, manipulative parents are not at fault. His parents even helped him pack up, and he went home with them. Then, his parents threatened to call the cops on me for domestic violence and selling illicit substances. I'm innocent, but I'm terrified about what might happen now, whether their insane calls to the police could jeopardize my job somehow. I'm so scared of these people and what they might do.